We are back, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is your host, Bridget Eileen Cisco, and today we're talking about partnerships, brand deals, and collaborations. And if you are a small business owner, you need to know about these aspects and these strategies to your business because, hey, newsflash, it's all about you getting in front of other people's audiences while joining arms with brands you know, like, and trust, people you know, like, and trust. It is just a win-win. So if you're new to our world, I am Bridget Eileen Cisco. I am the co-founder of Visibility on Purpose. I'm a publicity expert. I'm a former publisher. I've been interviewed 50 to 100 times at this point. I probably should get that number down pat. But I've done a lot of things throughout my career where I've looked at how can I link arms? How can I link arms with someone else that benefits both of us mutually? And I think that these are just simple strategies that you can be thinking of for your own brand, for your own business. And it can also be really, really fun. And the way I like to think about it is a lot of us think about going directly to the audience right in front of us, right? It's like me as Bridget Cisco or as the co-founder of Visibility and Purpose. I'm trying to talk to the small business owner so I can sell them something. No, brand deals, partnerships, this is about you going horizontally. And when I think of it like this, like if I were to close my eyes, I see us all in a circle. I see us all linking arms and actually growing stronger together. And it just kind of like brings me back to a philosophy I personally have, which is we go further together. Like we have more resources. It's why, throughout generations and throughout history, we had communal societies where we were all helping each other achieve certain goals. Usually it was to stay alive, but in this case, we can take those same ideas and bring them into our business. So we are not just reaching out to the audience in front of us, but we are linking arms with another brand, another business owner, another founder, so we can expand our circle and, of course, get in front of a new audience, but not just be talking to our own all the time because we're going to be in our own little silo. And that's kind of what social media is like in some ways, unless we are implementing a really strong growth strategy, which you usually need to be like rocking the algorithm to do at this point. But at the end of the day, why would you even want to do this in the first place? And then I'll go into like what are partnerships, what's a brand deal, blah, blah, blah. It is about number one, reaching new audiences. It's about adding credibility to your business because if you can say, hey, like I'm linking arms with this brand who's already really known and well known, that boosts credibility for your own brand and ultimately increasing revenue. And that is important as business owners because if we don't have money, we're not making money, this is a hobby and not a business. So, where should we begin? Let's start by talking about and defining what are partnerships, what are brand deals, and what are collaborations. Because I think while they might all have similar purposes, I think that they have some different kind of functionality in this way. So we can think about partnerships more as like a long-term alliance, and Visibility on Purpose is a great example of that. So Lydia and I are actually business partners. We own this business 50-50. We are in it 50-50, and we are working together toward a mutual goal of number one, giving small business owners access to the media. They don't need to be Coca-Cola, you don't need to be Spindrift, you don't need to be, Tony Robbins to get the same access to the media that big brands are already currently getting. We have that mutual goal together. We're able to share resources like our knowledge. We're able to share things like Zoom, our Zoom account or our Canva account, right? So we're sharing those resources, sharing our branding, and that's a very by the book partnership. But it might be something more along the lines of like you're a fitness or a wellness brand and you team up for a product line. And you're actually creating something together that has a purpose, it has a duration, like it is very, very set in stone. So that's more of like a partnership, and that's more like long term. You might even have like more of a contract in place for something like this, whereas brand deals are likely going to be shorter. And While there was no money exchange in this example, I do think this is a great example. So earlier this year, we actually hosted an event in New Jersey because, I'm from New Jersey, that's where we live. And we hosted the event on behalf of Visibility on Purpose, but we teamed up with our friend Jackie Tempera. Jackie Tempera is an award-winning writer. She's a copywriter. She writes for big magazines like Women's Health. You might have actually read some of her work in that magazine. She's very funny as well, and she's a storytelling expert. And we ended up teaming up with Jackie for an event so that we could basically put on an event that brought small business owners together and taught them how to tell their story when it comes to the lens of media, like what's important to think about, how they can frame things, how they can position the brand, yada, yada, yada. So, one of the things that we did for that event, which I really, really loved, is we reached out to brands that we love, like Spindrift, Seattle Gummy Company, Smart Snacks, and a number of other brands. Maison Palo Santo, their Palo Santo is chef's kiss, as Lydia would say. And we said, hey, we're putting on this event. We're expecting this amount of people here. We're going to do a big social media push. Would you be open to doing an in-kind donation so that we can get your product in front of new people? We could talk about your product and we can kind of team up with you. So that was for a very specific event. And I would call that and categorize that more as a brand deal, where we were kind of linking arms together for one specific purpose. And we were saying, hey, we're going to get your brand and your product in front of people, like directly in front of people. They'll be able to taste your product. This is how many people who are going to be there. This is the type of people that are going to be there. And in return, we would promote them on social media. We thanked them all at the actual event. We were even supposed to have one of the company's like founders come to the event, which we are of course like, yeah, absolutely come and do not pay. Absolutely come to the event. So brand deals tend to be shorter, a little bit more like transactional, whether it is a monetary exchange. In this case, it was a product exchange, but sometimes it might be a transactional exchange, right? So you have big YouTube content creators these days, podcast hosts, or even like a big Instagram following able to leverage their audience in exchange for basically advertising space for brands and certain products. We've seen this with Athletic Greens. We all know Athletic Greens right now, and I watch a lot of YouTube. They're now on to Airlo, which is actually my favorite eSIM for travel, so I am on board with that one. But this is where a creator promotes a brand, and it's often in like a sponsored post or it's an ad essentially for that product. And there's usually some requirements. Okay, you need to actually place this ad at this placement in the video or in the post, and it needs to be 1 minute in duration of you doing a commercial for the ad. So there are some requirements, but usually it's for a shorter, like very, very specific focus, whether it's a certain amount of videos, a certain amount of content. But that's a great way to lean on each other again. And especially if you have like big brands that you're able to get these sponsorships with, hey, you're able to leverage their network as well. So there's a lot that can be done with brand deals and those types of collabs. Now, basic collaborations, we can think of this like a creative project when we have two brands that come together to create something new, and it might be like a limited edition product. It also could look like, right, a podcast, an Instagram live, a guest blog. Like I think it can go into those categories as well. And it might be more like limited edition, but we're blending the audiences. So I would say the partnerships, the collabs, like those cross promotional strategies of getting in front of each other's audiences are very, very similar. And you've seen this, I think, like around the holidays or even like Halloween, you'll see a food brand like team up with like a movie. So like, you have, this special limited edition food product or like shoes. I feel like Crocs has done this a bunch of times. So now you kind of understand what all of these things are. Let's go through like why this matters. And what I want you to be doing as you're listening to this today is to start thinking creatively, like, who could I team up with? Who could I be linking arms with? Where have I been a little short-sighted in my approach to my brand growth strategy? And this is why we love talking about PR, because at the end of the day, all of these things that we're talking about in these videos are a part of a brand's PR strategy. Like it's absolutely part of it. It might extend a little bit beyond the typical like securing an interview on a podcast, but it's the same idea. And what I've always found personally is that if you can understand this skill, and it's really a creative thinking skill, if you can understand this skill, you can bring this into a lot of different functions of your business, like setting up these partnerships, like setting up a brand deal, like getting sponsored posts, etc. So let's jump into why this matters. And I want to give a couple of examples of what this could actually look like for your own business. So we've kind of already talked about the ability to share audiences and share that amount of reach. And this is just something that you can't do on your own, right? Like for you to be able to link arms with another brand or a business who has a different audience than your own is such a win-win. And especially when you're thinking about your consumer in mind, it's just a win-win. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So be strategic, think about who would you want to be in front of? How can you guys benefit each other? How can you benefit each other's audiences? What would that look like? You're also going to be sharing your resources and skills. So everyone has different gifts, talents, and abilities, and this goes for a brand as well. So you're able to think of, okay, what do we have within our back pocket? What's within our own arsenal? What do we have the assets and resources for? And how can we lean on those things that we know how to do really well and actually help someone else out? So maybe your team is really good at the graphics. So you're like, okay, for whatever we do, we're going to create all the graphics. You're really good at like email marketing. Would you be more willing to like share this with them? So whatever it might look like, but shared resources and skills. Obviously, this is going to boost credibility and trust because even when we hosted that event earlier this year, to be able to say, like, we have Spindrift, like, thank you so much, Spindrift. Thank you so much, Unreal Bars. I love Unreal Bars. They're so, so good. So thank you to all these companies who have said yes to us. It also elevates our brand because people know about Spindrift, like you're probably drinking it right now. People know about Unreal Bars, like they go to Costco and get the whole pack and then eat it all, right? They already know those brands. So if you don't know our name yet, but you know those names, it's going to be growth through association, which a lot of companies use as a channel that they share their message bigger and bigger. And obviously, at the end of the day, increasing sales and revenue. When we link arms together, we just go further together. And that event is a great example because I truly believe that all three of us collaborating together were able to bring in, I think we had 25 attendees at something like $200 a head. So it was a great event. We were really, really proud of how it worked. We didn't want something too big, but it was a great opportunity for us, the companies, and to see how we worked together. And when you see how you work together, you can then say, okay, do we want to do more of this with them? Do we want to not do something like this very often? Yada yada. So let's go into some examples of what this could actually look like for you and your own company. So one example could always be collaboration. So doing giveaways with other companies. Maybe you have a product brand and you want to team up with another product company who has a similar audience but doesn't quite offer the same thing. So maybe you make calendula salves and maybe they make like healthy lip liner and you guys team up together where you guys can focus on growing your social media audiences, cross promoting, and giving away a really cool product that you already love. So collaborations on and doing giveaways on social media, amazing. You could do Instagram lives together. You could do content exchanges. You could do newsletter swaps. I know Lydia has actually done that with a bunch of her friends, and they said it's just like really fun because you get to highlight someone that you love. Podcast would be another great example of this as a collaboration opportunity. Now, if you have a product or a service, you could also do like a co-branded service. And I have done this in the past with people, actually. And this is how Visibility on Purpose started. So I was running a publishing company called Exalted Publishing House at the time, and I was teaming up with other service providers who, had a little bit of a deeper knowledge in their specific function or specialty, and Lydia's was PR. So I would bring her in and I would actually pay her to come into my company and share with my clients on how they can be positioning themselves for press and media. So we were combining our strengths here. It was a great opportunity for Lydia because she got in front of new people. It was a great opportunity for me because I was able to then say, hey, like I have this PR expert who's kind of like on our team. You have someone to reach out to. So that's a great example there. Now you can look at affiliate marketing and sponsorships as well. We do a lot of affiliate marketing. So within our mastermind, we do have links that where we are an affiliate of the product. And we always, of course, say we're an affiliate. But places like Quoted, places like Podseeker, places like Notion, if you have a brand that you love, why not reach out to them and say, hey, like, would you be open to working together here? Because if you're already using it and you already believe in the product, it's way easier to talk about it. Now, I would not recommend, just for the integrity of your brand, to ever take on brand deals or sponsorships where that is not the case because consumer behavior, we are smart out there, people. We are very, very smart. So I would not make the mistake of teaming up with a product or a brand or a company that does not actually kind of relate to your values and your integrity. That would just be my personal words of wisdom. Then you also have things like event sponsorships. So that's what I talked about previously. Guest appearances. So you speaking in front of other audiences for live events, for webinars, for guest spots on each other's channels or platforms. Like those are all different ways to boost your brand awareness. And they're kind of different types of partnerships from a very real level where you're paying and there's an exchange and there's usually a contract to a very basic level like an Instagram live. Let's go into how you can actually set up these potential partnerships. And I think it just relates all back to our pitching skills. So, inside our visibility and PR mastermind, this is really, really what we're talking about. And although the conversation today, extends a little bit further into brand deals and partnerships and sponsorships, yada, 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 it is the same strategy, my friends. So, we're always thinking about, okay, what makes sense for us? What audiences make sense for us to be in front of? So we want to identify the right partners, whether that is a podcast you want to be on, whether it's a magazine, whether it is a platform, whether it is a brand or another company's platforms. You want to be identifying the partners who align with your values and your audience. Like that is always going to be step one. Step two, welcome to Pitch Party. This is why we call our program and mastermind Pitch Party because it is about sending a pitch. So, guess how we were able to secure all those in kind donation and sponsorships for that event that we hosted? Well, my friends, we sent them a pitch where we basically outlined the event, what's in it for them, what's in it for us, what we would guarantee, like what we're asking, what's the mutually beneficial relationship. It's a pitch. It is a pitch, my friends. It's a pitch. And you know what? We've done this not only for, of course, editorial publications, TV segments, podcasts, like that's our bread and butter at Visibility and Purpose and our mastermind, but we've also done this to get really big guests on our show. So we have had like ex Netflix stars, we have had YouTubers with 500 plus subscribers, we have had some pretty big people on our show, and we've actually pitched them to come onto the show, right? So it makes perfect sense. And even like networking, you could just be on LinkedIn and you could be connecting with people, you could be doing and setting up some coffee chats and some networking calls and just start having some conversations and seeing if it's a good option. Social media, like we do a lot of our research on social media and we're going to say, hey, like, what do you think of this brand? Do you think we could like invite them to an event? Do you think we can invite them to sponsor our event? Think we could ask for anything? Just making the ask is always going to be the best first step. But in any time that you're doing this with another business or another brand, you want to be very, very clear on what you're looking for and what's in it for them. I think establishing roles and responsibilities is crucial. We've done this for the events that we hosted with other companies. Lydia and I have done this with ourselves, right? Because we have a business together. So we need to have very, very clear understanding of each other's roles so we don't step on each other's toes and we can really just like respect each other's autonomy. Being a good communicator, like all these things sound basic, but it's going to be really, really helpful. And I think the last thing that you might not always do for any sort of collaboration is to look at the results and like look at the metrics. So, how many people came to your event? How many people listened to the episode or the podcast? Like what was the reach? What was the open rate on that email where you collaborated together? And I think sharing those things with your collaboration partners or the brands can really develop a great relationship with them. So, this is just the tip of the iceberg, I think, today. But what you can take away is kind of understanding a little bit more about how partnerships might work for you, understanding a little bit more about brand deals and just collaborations with the goal in mind to expand your brand reach, to boost credibility, to boost revenue, to build that brand awareness. Because we always say, like, you didn't start this business for no one to know about it. That was not the point here. Never, ever the point. So if this speaks to you, let us know. I'd love to hear like just some of your strategizing and ideas about what you could see this looking like for your own brand. And hey, did you like this episode today? Share it with a friend. Share this with a friend who's also thinking about ways that they can expand their reach for their company, and have them like us on YouTube, follow, subscribe, do all of those things. Thank you so much for listening today. Talk to you later.